I wanted to do this whole film thing where I was gonna do like a narration over it, do a voiceover and all that stuff. And the only thing keeping me from being able to do that for this video is my inability to plan. But when I revisit this show at the end of the season, it will be there. Trust me. Now, if I kept my word, then The Flash is returning tonight, the night that this video goes up. Now, with that, I have mixed feelings because the show, in my opinion, has been on a downward slope since the end of season 1, and this is really their last chance to get it together before we pretty much all walk away. What do I mean by downward slope? Well, let's take this point by point, starting with the titular character, The Flash.
For 1 second. My name is
Now, when Barry Allen first was introduced to the CW Arrowverse, it was on an episode of Arrow where he was investigating Slade Wilson, unbeknownst to us at the time, but he was very smart, very quirky, but he was able to get the job done. And when Oliver found out who he switched gears and was like, I have a job to do and I'm here to do that job. So he could take charge when he needed to, but he was also kind of a quirky, odd little guy. He was a nerd, but he was super smart, super good at his job, which is supposed to be a detective. Then on the first episode of his own show, he's got this like Sherlock thing going on where when he's investigating, you can see what he's thinking, you can see like what he makes of what he's looking at. It's like, oh, 12-inch tire treads. And that's really cool. Too bad it literally never happened again. He also pretty much was never smart again. Like, in order to be a CSI, you have to go to college for about 8 years. Where is all that? Where are his degrees? Show me his certifications. I would love to see what qualifies him to be a CSI. But the room at Star Labs where he works as the Flash and as Barry Allen, I can't tell. But that room is full of scientists. There's an engineer named Cisco. There's a doctor named Caitlin. There's another doctor named Harrison Wells. Unless it's HR. We'll get to that later. But this room is full of scientists, yet they always need to explain stuff to each other. And that's so that we can understand. But here's the thing. They're surrogate characters. Why aren't they being used? And over time, Barry went from being a character that you like to being a character that you just want to go away. I shouldn't want the main character of the show to go away. He starts out all happy-go-lucky. He's like, I got powers. I'm going to save the day. I'm going to get justice for my father. But then something broke in him after he defeated Eobard Thawne at the end of the first season. And he's just been gloomy ever since then. He's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But then he kind of sort of died at the end of season 3 and came back so goofy and happy and cheery, I couldn't take the show seriously. Why couldn't they strike that balance again that they had in the first season? Speaking of seasons, though.
all my friends are heathens, take it slow.
Because Eobard Thawne wanted to help the Flash get faster so that he could steal his power and create a time portal to go home. But in order to convince the Flash to do it, he says, hey, you can go to the past and save your mother. You can stop me from killing her. I don't understand how he'd be able to do that because Eobard's faster than him, especially in the future, but hey, that's okay. But he decides not to do it and he punches Eobard's space-time thing. And even though that's a portal back in time and forward in time, both ways in time, it's just a time portal. Jay Garrick's helmet comes through from another Earth? Okay. Then you have Jay Garrick, who turns out to be Hunter Zolomon, and it's like, I was training you because I want your speed. Again. But then what does he want? We actually don't find out until the season finale. Turns out he built this magnetar that he can use to reach out to every other Earth in the multiverse and destroy it. All except for this one. And how do you charge it up? You run around on the inside of it. You race between speedsters. 100 laps. Here's the thing, though. If it's 100 laps with 2 speedsters, that means it's 200 laps with 1 speedster. So Zoom, do it yourself. Then season 3 came along, and it made people really think that speedster villains were the issue because of Savitar. Savitar was so impossibly fast that they literally had to nerf him twice. If they hadn't done that, Barry couldn't have possibly defeated him. But to Savitar, Barry, because Barry's become so unlikable, so much of a douchebag, that at this point, he's literally psychotic and evil. How did this happen, though? Savitar, who was Barry, kills Iris, and Barry decides to create a bunch of time remnants to help defeat Savitar. And they all die except for one. And then the team shuns that one time remnant. Then he becomes Savitar, goes back in time, and starts the cycle. Who was the first Savitar? And I'm not even going to get into the whole time remnant thing. I'll do that at a later time because I still have work to do when it comes to figuring out what a time remnant even is. But, we just need to get a move on because this video is already getting way too long. And then you have season 4. Clifford DeVoe somehow knew Barry was the Flash and that he was in the Speed Force and knew how to lure him out and knew exactly how to get 12 people onto a bus and knew exactly what powers they were going to get and needed all of those powers to make the world stupid. He wanted to make the world dumb so that he could teach them. That could have worked. It really could have. It super could have. But it's just, it didn't. And that proves that the problem isn't Speedster villains, it's the writing. The writing on the Speedster villains after Eobard Thawne was kind of lame. I didn't like the who done it. Who is he under the mask? That thing, because that drags on way too long, especially with Savitar. Most of us had already figured out that that was Barry, but they waited until episode 20 of that season to reveal it. 3 episodes left after that. You didn't get unmasked chemistry between the Barrys because they waited so long.
I don't feel like doing anything.
I also think the writers kind of shot themselves in the foot when they, at episode 15 of the entire show, said that Barry can just time travel. And in 23, when he can just time travel wherever, he selectively needs the particle accelerator. Sometimes he has to collide with a particle to open a time portal. Sometimes he can just go. Why set rules that aren't concrete on something as wishy-washy as time travel? And then, in the same breath that they created this rule, they said Barry can open holes to other Earths. And that there's 52 of them. This was the 24th episode of the show. So now Barry can go anywhere in time and anywhere in the multiverse. So now there's no stakes. A character can die and just get pulled back from the past or from the future, depending on which character it is, or get yanked from another Earth, and bam, there you have a new one. When Harrison Wells turned out to be Eobard Thawne, it was erased from existence because Eddie shot himself, but Eobard's back. I'll talk about that in the future. We just pull one from another Earth. Harry from Earth 2. And he's everybody's favorite version now, but he went back home, and so we got a new one from Earth 19. And then he died, and then our Harry went to his funeral. He died, and his doppelganger came to his funeral. They did not wait nearly long enough to open the door to all of these possibilities, because now the writing can be as lazy as it wants to be. If a character is impossibly fast, way faster than Barry, it's okay. Barry doesn't have to get creative. He can just go back in time and just be like, hey, teach me how to go fast. That's another thing about the Speedster villains. They make them so much faster than Barry that if Barry were to get as fast as these speedsters are, then the show would be broken. But that's what keeps happening. He keeps getting faster. They'll put a mileage on it, like, oh, he's running this many Machs right now. But he can't stop a car from crashing. Come on, season 4. He can flip a pancake, run to the other side of the city, come back and catch the pancake. How is there any conflict at all? He's fast enough to do all of the things then. Like, come on. I'm gonna run as a flash. You think that means Iris West? I'll get to her. She's last. She killed this show, I think. But we are the Flash. Too many speedsters. There's already been 10. Don't believe me? Barry, Evil Barry, Eobard, Hunter, Wally, Jesse, Jay, Trajectory, Edward, and Nora Allen. 10 speedsters. And not even half that many seasons. With a team like that, how are there any threats? And every time there's a new speedster, there's always a competition to see who's faster. It doesn't matter. The 3, Wally, Jesse, and Barry, could have cleaned up all crime on the planet in like a couple hours. I don't understand why there's any threat on the show when there's all these speedsters, especially when you could just pop over here, grab them, and pull them back. Because apparently they can reach each other through the Speed Force. Remember when Barry was going to go back and undo Flashpoint? Oh, Flashpoint, I got to talk about that too, don't I? Let's do that right now. When I said earlier that there's no stakes, I meant it. There are no stakes, no consequences, because things that are supposed to be dramatic only last an episode. The end of season 1, Barry runs into a black hole. We're not sure if he's going to survive. Season 2, it's been 6 months. He came down a long time ago. Somebody else died. Somebody else entirely died. Somebody that we had no idea was even going to go in there died. Come on now. Why Ronnie? Season 2, he goes back in time and creates Flashpoint. At the end of the very first episode, Flashpoint has been undone. And it created another scapegoat. Flashpoint did it. It's because of Flashpoint. If he hadn't created Flashpoint, this wouldn't have happened. That can only get you so far. End of season 3, he goes into the Speed Force. First episode of season 4, he's out. What is the point of having a huge cliffhanger if it's settled in a half hour? I don't understand what the reasoning, the logic behind that could be. And let's talk about what they did to my boy Wally. Greatest Flash. Flash for 20 years in the comics. He's pretty much everybody's Flash. If you watch the Justice League cartoon, bam, Wally West is your Flash. If you grew up in the 90s, Wally West is your Flash. So when Wally West was put on the show, I was like, yes, get the real Flash. He didn't have powers for a while. I was okay with that. But he got hit with dark matter and nothing happened to him. But then Barry gives Jessie a little spark and now she's got powers. And he's like, I don't want powers. So he goes and stands in front of a truck. All he's ever done since he got on the show was complain. Oh, my dad never knew I existed. Oh, I don't have powers. Oh, I want to help people like Barry. Oh, I'm not fast enough. I want to be as fast as Barry. You guys don't know I'm here. I left. Well, bye. If you already are faster than Barry was at this point in his training, I don't understand why there needs to be 2 of you. It's just, they bring Wally onto the show. They ruin his character, which I hate using that word, but they make him so hollow and one-dimensional. All he cares about is people noticing him. And then he just leaves. He goes off to Legends of Tomorrow. And he's not coming back. What? Circle love, friend. And it's not just that there's too many speedsters. There's too many people with powers. Cisco is Vibe. Caitlin is Killer Frost. Barry, Wally, Ralph. All 5 of them, put them on the ground, there's nothing going on anymore. They will dismantle every criminal in America. I don't understand what the point of this is. Why does everybody have powers? Especially powers that aren't properly defined, like Cisco. I have echoes of another timeline. I can just go to other Earths. Yep. And don't worry, I'm not going to talk about Flash Time or most of the other stuff that happened in Season 4. I have 2 last things to talk about. Iris West is Barry Allen's pretty much sister. They grew up together. They both call Joe West dad. They should not be married. If the writers knew they were going to end up being married, they should not have created this brother-sister relationship between the 2 of them. I don't like it. It's weird. We all think it's weird. It's disgusting. Stop doing that. And Iris herself. She started out as a reporter for Central City Picture News, and now she's team leader. She's talking scientific language that the other scientists on the show should know. Cisco should have been able to tell him that there is a ball of Barry's DNA that the Speed Force is tracking. Why did Iris have to be the one to tell him that? Why is she giving people the pep talks? Why is she giving orders? Why is she telling people what to do? She hasn't been there long enough to qualify to be team leader. She's not smart enough, and she doesn't know what it's like to be on the street out there. She's not one of the heroes. Except for that one episode where she was, but that doesn't matter because Run Iris Run is really stupid. And then she pulls out this one. We are the Flash. And she keeps saying it. And I know what it's supposed to mean. You're not alone. Say you're not alone. Don't say we are the Flash. Because that's stupid. That's really stupid. And I hated hearing it. And I never want to hear it again. But I don't think all is lost. if we're going to be honest, I have no clue where Season 5 can go. They're doing Cicada, so they're not going back to Speedster Villains until they use Eo Barthon again, because of course they're going to. And I have more CWDC videos to do. I'm going to be talking about Arrow, I'm going to be talking about Time Remnants, I'm going to be talking about the crossovers and all that stuff. That's all coming eventually. I'm not going to be talking about Supergirl or anything like that because I don't watch those shows. Just Flash and Arrow. But this has been my longest video yet. If you're still here, thank you. Well, it's not my longest video. It's my longest non-gameplay video. Yep, that work for you guys? I gotta get out of here because this is going to be a beast to edit. But I want to leave you with this. Who was your favorite villain from the entirety of The Flash, all 4 seasons? Minor villain like Peekaboo, major villain like Zoom. Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below and educate me. And, as always, if you like what you see and you want more videos, click anywhere and you get more videos. Maybe click right here and subscribe. Wink!